Welcome back, everybody. My name is All Fun and Games. I stream every day on Twitch TV, and I also make fun little videos here on YouTube. Today, we're going to be talking about the 3 characters that need to have a smidge of a buff. Now, these characters are not bad to play at all. I previously made a video showcasing the 3 worst characters in Don't Starve Together. Now I'm talking about the 3 characters that need a smidge of a buff. After this, I will talk about other characters that are pretty mediocre, and then other characters that are top tier. And that'll be it for those videos. So stay tuned for basically all these videos that are going to be featuring multiple different characters. So if you've been sitting there wondering, what characters do I need to play? You can listen to these and go, I think he might be right. Keep in mind, this is my personal opinion. And so as a disclaimer, do not come in here and approach me and go, I can't believe you're saying this. You're making everybody feel like these characters are all bad. No, this is just my opinion from playing Don't Starve Together for the amount of time that I have. Keep in mind, some people might share the same opinion as me and some won't, but I'm trying to stay pretty optimistic with knowing that Clay's eventually going to probably buff these characters or make them just a smidge better. All right, let's talk about them, shall we? And this video is going to be a lot quicker than the last one because the previous video where I talked about the 3 worst characters, I kind of went on about different ideas that I had for them and all that other stuff. So, who is first on my list for characters that need a small buff? Wolfgang, of course. Just got a rework after getting a rework. So, Clay obviously looked at Wolfgang and said, okay, what are we doing here? Let's make Wolfgang a little bit better. Now, as we all know, Wolfgang used to be that character that you used to play back in the day. All you had to do was feed him a bunch of food, and he would be very happy to destroy anything in his way. And that was really fun, right? It made you very happy to know that all you had to do was feed a character food, and so on and so on. Since then, they said, hey, Wolfgang, nope, now you're going to have to work out before doing it, and that's about it, and then you're good to go. Then they said, no, we're just joking around. I'm so sorry about that. Now when Wolfgang does anything, that manual labor and whatever else, Wolfgang will start to get stronger. Chopping trees, blah, 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 blah. And actually, it's not that bad. However, Wolfgang still remains a character that doesn't really get used that often because I don't even know. I just feel like Wolfgang kind of fell off the map. For me, I used to play Wolfgang all the time. Actually, more than I used to play any other character. Because I would always go to Wolfgang and say, look, if we get 4 Wolfgangs in the world, which you still can do a lot of damage, you could actually output a lot of damage, especially with the right amount of buffs applied to you. So why is Wolfgang not chosen that much anymore? Well, I think it becomes one of those things where now when you play Wolfgang, it's almost kind of like, not necessarily homework, but it feels like you're very tedious amount of work in order to get Wolfgang strong enough to actually do a lot of damage. Now, in reality, it's not that much work, but it just feels that way. So what can they add to Wolfgang to make Wolfgang even better? I don't really know. Wolfgang is a character that you can play consistently the entire time, and I'm actually, now that I'm talking about Wolfgang, I'm considering playing him. However, I do think that he could have an even... I love the idea about the dumbbells and all that other stuff, and they're throwable, and they do a decent amount of damage, and they're portable, and they can keep you strong, and blah, 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 blah. So I do like all that stuff. But I think that Wolfgang needs a little bit more. Perhaps the ability to actually feed off of better things, like if you are eating bigger meats or bigger food, you sustain your strongness for a lot longer. So for example, let's add something that just says Wolfgang loves his protein. And when you eat meat or things that involve meat, of course, you get a smidge of an extension on how long you actually stay big for. I don't know if this could be a thing, or perhaps maybe there's certain items that'll give you a big buff for when you're fighting and blah, 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 which of course is already applied with Worley as it is. So I don't really know. I don't have an answer for Wolfgang. I really don't. I do think Wolfgang needs a little bit of push over the edge just to become even better. Whether or not they make it so Wolfgang even has a small more of a multiplier when it comes to damaging when in big form, something like that could really make players come back to Wolfgang full strong and say, look, I get an extra 20% more damage when I'm in beefy mode now as Wolfgang. That's a decent amount of damage, and it really is, especially when you consider if you're putting out like 100 damage with a special weapon. Now you're talking 120 damage while you're using Wolfgang in strong mode. Something like that would really push it over the edge. I don't know the stats right now. I don't really look too much into stats, but I'm just talking things like that could really make Wolfgang a little bit better. Otherwise, an okay character, just not the best right now. Moving on to, let's save Worley for last, to Weber. I used to play Weber all the time, and I really miss Weber, and sometimes I'll go back to him. Well, unfortunately, Weber got an update, and it was really okay. It had a webby whistle and all this stuff, and you can still get spiders and blah, 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 blah. However, going back to Wendy, unfortunately, Wendy really corrals and kills a lot of spiders more than Weber does. Before Wendy had the ability to basically make Abigail do everything and like cause a lot of havoc, Weber used to be the character that you would have to corral a ton of spiders and get a ton of spider meat, and still you can do it. It's just a lot easier with Wendy because Wendy has more versatility after the spiders, because you can literally use Abigail to kill a bunch of other things, like whatever you really want to. Bunch of frogs, all that other stuff. So, without talking too much about Wendy, the reason why I think Weber got overshadowed is just because Abigail is so dang good. If we looked at Wendy and said Abigail was only able to attack one enemy at a time, Wendy would not be as good as Wendy is currently right now, and we'd be looking at Weber and going, Weber is an amazing choice. So, how do we make Weber better? Honestly, I don't really know. I would love to see Weber have the ability to maybe even ride a Spider Queen, which would probably put Weber over top the map as probably one of the best characters in the game. Because we all know riding around on a Spider Queen would be pretty freaking amazing. Imagine you're riding on the back of a Spider Queen and you, after taming it, and you're walking around and putting webs everywhere and having the ability of just making things just like so much cooler, and your attack is a lot stronger than a Beefalo. I think something like that would just be pretty cool. Although, I don't think it would make Weber too amazing, but it is definitely a start in the right direction. The other option is having Weber to be able to evolve in different formats. What I'm talking about that is give Weber the ability to eat something similar to Woody, like a whatever, I don't know, like a specific type of dish, turn into a guardian spider, turn into a spitter spider, and turn into whatever kind of spider you need to turn into. I think something like that would really be interesting, and I know that it's probably not going to ever happen, but if they ever did that, I would play Weber forever because that is just freaking awesome. Imagine you can turn yourself into a spitter spider and spit at enemies. I mean, like, hello? Play? If you do that, I seriously will buy every Weber skin, and I will love Weber again forever because I used to play Weber all the time, and now I rarely play Weber. So, give Weber the ability to transform into different formats of spiders. I think it makes sense, and it doesn't necessarily need to be something that could happen right away from eating like an idol. Perhaps it could be over time. After you get used to Weber, your character has the ability to then evolve into a different thing, like a guardian spider after the first year, perhaps the next year after that. I don't even know. But just something like that would be so cool to see as Weber. Anyways, let's leave Weber alone because I really have a heart for Weber, and Weber's one of my favorites since the beginning. Still is my favorite character all around. I just don't play Weber that often, so I would really love to see Weber get a little bit of love. All right, let's leave Worley for last, I said. Well, there's a reason for that. Because I think Worley is one of the characters that could be really amazing and already is a decent good character, but just needs that little bit of spice to make Worley a little bit better. I was going to say nice, but I didn't really want to rhyme. All right. So, Worley, the character that literally makes everything for everybody else, but basically does nothing for themselves. Why is Worley probably one of the characters that everybody tried playing at first and then eventually said, nah, I'm not down for this? Okay. Now, if you've ever played a game before, specifically revolving around helping others becoming a support class character, you would know that Worley is literally that, a support class character. You might be saying, oh, hell no, that's not true. I don't think so because, well, we all know that Worley can do everything by himself. Well, yeah, for sure. That's understandable. Worley has his own dishes that obviously make a lot of sense and make things a lot better. However, when you play a support class in any other game, you also have a little bit of buffs to yourself that obviously make you a little bit better. You know, you go around and you're now buffing your own self and you don't have to worry about anybody else and you're getting different gear and blah, 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 blah. When it comes to Worley, really, making dishes for other people can become a little bit tedious, especially when you're in the kitchen all the time, just cooking different foods and playing around with different spices. Is it enjoyable? For a short period of time, sure. Then after a while, you probably look and say, look, I'm doing all this work while everybody else is out there, walking around and having a fun time. Not only that, I have to eat different dishes every day. And of course, there's ways to avoid that and whatever else. So how do we make Worley better? There's two ways about this. One, Worley's thing is just that, obviously. Well, let's read it. The Culinarian has his own line of custom portable cookware, which is great. Can spice things up, which is great. Has an insatiable appetite, only eats gourmet food. Okay, so we know that Worley can't eat anything that's not cooked inside of a crock pot. Fine. We also know that Worley doesn't want to eat the same thing every day. Sure, that's fine. You can switch it around by you can eat things every day, but it's not going to give the same stats, which in turn, as long as you're eating things alternating, it's fine and blah, 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 blah. So there's different ways to consume food as Worley that you don't have to really worry about switching your food up as often as you think. Now, without getting into that, whatever. If Don't Starve Together ever adapted that to every other character, meaning if you're playing as Maxwell, you have to eat different foods every day, that would change the game drastically, and I don't think that Clay is going to do that. However, I have mentioned that would make a lot of sense. Don't Starve Together now would be kind of really Don't Starve Together, because you would have to consume different foods every day, or your character would get annoyed at eating the same foods. However, this would make the game a lot more complicated, and I don't think that's what they're going to do. Okay, so why does Worley have that ability? I don't know. I mean, really, that kind of makes Worley not want to be playable. Now, that's one reason. The other thing is maybe give Worley the ability to make some crazy other foods, or every time somebody consumes your food that you've cooked as Worley, you get a bonus from it. Now that, in my opinion, is literally one of the coolest things. Imagine I make a meatball, and the meatball is called Worley's Meatball. I hand it over to Wes. Wes is out in the wild, starts getting hungry, and he eats it. Wes's thing says, Worley, you really know how to cook up a good dish. Anywhere I'm at the world, as long as I'm not in the caves when this happened, my character will trigger and say, wow, I can smell it from here that a character ate my food or something. I don't know. Who cares about the lines that they say? And my sanity goes up just like that. Now, why would that be a cool thing to see? And could it really make Worley better? Yes, because now you're actually getting bonuses from other people eating your food. Okay, are we really getting bonuses from other people's eating our food? Sure. I hand off a nice dish to Wolfgang and makes him stronger, makes him do a lot more attacks, and then we kill a big boss together. Is that a thing? Sure. However, without being a little bit selfish, you kind of want to have a bonus for yourself that says, well, guess what? This player consumed my food, and now I'm getting a benefit from them eating it. So that's why I'm saying, if something like that were to happen, this would be really cool. For example, like I said, they go around, they eat their food, you get more sanity. Maybe they eat it and you get something different, or blah, 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 blah. Just depending on what Clay decides to add as Worley, I think could make Worley just a little bit better to make more players want to play Worley more often. And please, Clay, I understand that you want Worley to consume things other than just cooked dishes, but maybe either remove that or remove the ability that you have to eat a different dish every day. One of those two things have to go in order to make Worley a good support character. Nobody wants to play a support character in any game that literally has two downsides. I understand one downside, but please, if you want us to go out there and cook dishes for other players, you can't put double downsides and then literally say, go out there and play Worley, because then it just feels like all we're doing is tedious work for other players without getting anything back for ourselves. Anyways, those are the three characters. Wolfgang, Weber, and Worley all need a smidge of spice just to make them a little bit better, and then we'll be happy as can be. Or at least I will anyways. Let me know down in the comments what you think, and we'll go from there. But I think those are my three choices for characters that just need a little bit of love to make them even better. Thanks again for watching, and once again, this is all my personal opinions, so don't take it to heart if you play any of these characters and you're saying, how could you? I love these characters. They're perfect the way they are. Just keep in mind, it's just my opinion, and I just want to make these videos. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you in the next one.